afternoon. It appears we have all members present, so I'd like to call the meeting of the Finance Committee from the County call it to order. And Ms. Morlock, can we do the roll call, please?
Sure. Member Thompson.
Present.
Member Erickson.
Yes.
Member Woolrab.
Here.
Member Barnett.
Present.
Member Friedrich.
Present.
Member Lehman.
Present.
Chairman Metzger.
Present. All members are present. We have a quorum, so we'll move on to item 2, which is approval of the minutes for February 3rd regular meeting. May I have a motion? I have a motion by Member Erickson and a second by Member Woolrab to approve the meeting minutes for April 3rd. Or is there any discussion? April 3rd, February 3rd. Is there any discussion? No discussion. May we have a roll call vote? And I will be voting this evening.
Thank you. Member Woolrab.
Yes.
Member Barnett.
Yes.
Member Friedrich.
Yes.
Member Lehman.
Yes.
Member Thompson.
Yes.
Member Erickson.
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. So the minutes are approved, and we're moving on to appearances by members of the public or county employees. Do we have any appearances or any communication for this meeting?
Chairman Metzger, we do not.
Thank you very much. Then we can move on to departmental matters. We'll have 4A, Michelle Anderson. I see Ms. Anderson has joined us, and she does not have any items for action or any items to be presented for information. But Ms. Anderson, do you have anything that you want to share with us?
Thank you, Chairman. I do not. I just wanted to update. Ms. Dreyer emailed me, and I'm sorry I couldn't attend last month. So I ended up with last-minute childcare issues and a teething baby, which is a great combination. So on the contract for the actuarial, I do not have an issue putting that out to bid. I did just want to bring it to the committee's attention that if we put it out to bid next year, that would be the year we could do what they call like a rollover. And so that cost goes from like $9,500. They take it down to $2,500 because they don't actually have to re-input everything. They just kind of give a once over on our data, look at any major changes we made to our benefit plans, which is generally nothing substantial. So if we did put that out to bid next year, it would cost us another $7,000 to $8,000 versus just getting the roll forward.
Thank you for that information. That's good information to have, so we can certainly consider that option is not to pursue that and to do it at a future time. Does anybody have any questions or anything for Ms. Anderson tonight? Well, thank you very much, and happy to have you.
Thank you. Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much. We're moving on to 4B. That's Becky McNeil, County Treasurer, and we have 4.1B, items to be presented, and that's request approval for a resolution postponing delinquency date interest for all first installment 2020 payable 2021 property tax payments pursuant 35 Illinois Consolidated Statutes 200-21-40C1B. I think I got that right. That can be found on page 3 and 4 of your packet. May I have a motion to bring that to the floor? And I have a motion from Vice Chairman Thompson and a second by Member Lehman. And Ms. McNeil, would you like to present that for us?
Sure.
Thank you.
This resolution for you to consider is basically the same thing that we did a year ago. But we're meeting here in the month of March and discussing it versus the month of April, like last year. I wanted to bring it forth this month because if we decided to not consider this, then my office would have to start reprogramming back to pre-COVID. So it's something that I would like for you to consider this month so that we know how to proceed when extension rolls into our office. So basically this is doing the same thing as last year, and the calendar is going to also remain the same as last year. In a typical year, our property tax bills go out the first week of May and they're due the first week of June. I do not know at this point in time. I don't expect any delays with being able to release the bill the first week of May. But what this will do is, instead of requiring our taxpayers to turn around within 30 days and pay the first installment, our taxpayers that need the extra time will have another 6 weeks on top of it. So like a total of 10 weeks to come up with the first installment tax payment without penalty. Last year, there was a little initial concern about if that was going to mean the overall first installment was going to be coming in late. That did not happen. All of our escrow payments came in as we had requested them to come in by the due date. And we were able to get early distributions out to our taxing districts. And we were even, last year, we even distributed more distributions. We instead of making those distributions in 7 installments, we increased it to like 10. So I think that if we just continue to follow the calendar this year, as we did last year, I'm confident that everything will continue to roll smoothly. Like I said, we already have the bill ready to go for the waiver of this penalty for the first 30 days. And our collection system was reprogrammed a year ago, so that's already ready to go as well. So.
Yes, we have a question by Member Barnett.
Actually, I would move to approve as this has been presented from the treasurer.
And
I have a question. It's not a second. I had a question. I'm sorry. You got ahead of me there, Josh. Is that all right, or question session is over?
No, we haven't. We've already have a motion on the floor. So questions are fine. So Member Friedrich, you are welcome to ask a question.
Okay. Just speaking out loud, I don't have too much of a problem with the delay. My question is, how much of a problem would it be then, let's say, because I'm assuming we're going to do it for first and second installment. Can we say we're going to give you a grace period this first installment in September? It's business as usual. COVID's cleared up, and is that a problem, Ms. McNeil, or it's just too much work?
No, that is actually what we're doing. We're just going to do a 30-day interest waiver on the first installment. The second installment is business as usual. It's just the first installment. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Member Woolrab?
Just to clarify then, we're not saying that we couldn't do a second from the second installment, but at this point, we're just deciding on the first, right?
That's correct. If you decided to do a modification on the second installment, keep in mind that our bills will already be out at that point in time. Our bills have the interest ladder on them, so we will have payments coming in with those penalties. When we look back at what happened in 2020, it was very surprising that we didn't see a significant number of taxpayers that were not able to pay by that first installment due date. And I mean a significant number. I mean, we're looking at 68,000 parcels, and the majority of those parcels are escrowed. So those payments are coming out of their escrow accounts, coming in by mortgage companies, by a transfer there. And so that's the reason why things ran very, very smoothly last year. And the taxpayers that needed a little more time after that bill went out, they had it and they expressed their appreciation for it. I remember a year ago, the committee was a little concerned about how that would impact revenue, because the county keeps the delinquent interest that's collected, and that's by the property tax code. And last year, our delinquent interest, we had budgeted $485,000 and it came in at $488,000. So there was no impact there to the revenue to the general fund. I have actually budgeted down this year $475,000. I'm very comfortable with this. We collected it in last year very smoothly. We also actually went to tax sale about 2 weeks later last year. So we'll be doing the same thing this year. Basically the entire collection cycle is going to be backed up 2 weeks. And that is to give our taxpayers the advantage there in the beginning of a little extra time. So.
You have continued question, Member Woolrab?
Yeah, so I guess I'm not completely clear, Ms. McNeil. So voting on this does or doesn't, what does that do to the September date? And does this give us leeway hopefully things are wonderful by then, but if something should happen and they're not, or people are, and we see significant problems still, can we make a change then at some point during the summer? So that
our bill is already going to be out with the second installment due date and the penalty date and the penalty amount. Everything is already going to be in the taxpayer's hands at that point in time. We would have to do probably one of two things. We would have to send notices that our taxpayers, you have until this date to pay without penalty, or all of those payments that are coming in with the penalty, we would have to turn around and refund the penalty on all of those. So, I mean, it can be done. It would just be a very time-consuming process during the collection cycle. But, we can cross that bridge when we come to it. We can take a look at where we are after the first installment. We can look at those delinquency ratios and see if there's anything compared to last year that concerns us. And then also, one of the other things that we don't know is if the governor is going to step in and issue an executive order which will affect this process. Last year, they did, but it was at the very last minute, but you guys had already taken action to delay the penalties. So, any other questions?
Member Friedrich, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just coming back around to the number you gave us, Ms. McKnight, on the total number of bills that you send out. You said 68,000. That's
Right.
all for the entire county. Is this inside Bloomington Normal as well?
This is the entire county.
So
Yeah. We released 68,000 bills. Some of those are in the form of electronic data, not actual paper bill, but 68,000 parcels are billed annually for property taxes, give or take, depending on what comes off the rolls and what comes on. But ballpark, 68,000 parcels we collect.
That's amazing, because this county, there's 600,000 acres in this county. So there's 68,000 people that own the 600,000 acres. Is that what I'm hearing? Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's going to be a small amount of parcels that are non-taxable, but yes. You have 68,000 people that get property tax bills. Some of those include farmland. Some of those are just, municipal, like in town. Yes.
I would have guessed it considerably higher. So that's interesting to know.
Vice Chair Thompson, did you have a question? No? All right. No other questions? So Ms. Morlock, can you please take the roll on this action item, please?
Yes, ma'am. Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. We had unanimous vote. The proposal is approved, or the action is approved. We'll move on to B1B, and that's accept and place into file the county treasurer's monthly financial reports. May I have a motion, please? Vice Chair Thompson made the motion, and it looks like Member Friedrich is the second. And Ms. McNeil,
Thank you.
the floor is yours.
Thank you. So February receipts came in pretty comparable to a year ago, actually about $16,000 higher. So that's pleasant. Our year to date, which is only 2 months for January and February, is currently running about 91,000 ahead of 2020. And budget looks pretty good right now. We are currently 165,926 above budget. So that's some good news to start off the year with. The shared sales tax, that, as you can see, is just slightly down below 2020. The fund equity in the shared sales tax fund, $11,404,000. Property tax revenue, that obviously is not in yet. As of right now, we are anticipating to receive everything in a timely manner. I know the county clerk's office is waiting for some information from Illinois Department of Revenue. And once they get that, then they will be able to proceed and pass along the baton to the treasurer's office. So then we move on to the motor fuel tax. Motor fuel tax, you can see for January and February, $592,000 on county motor fuel, $481,000 on township motor fuel. I just wrote a little statement down there on that renewal fund. That renewal fund, that is the local government component of the Rebuild Illinois Capital Plan. If you remember, when the state increased the motor fuel tax back in 2019, we started getting those disbursements in 2019. I just decided to capture for you 2019, 2020, and then 2021. So it's probably about 16 months there of calculations, but you can see how beneficial this has been to McLean County. County motor fuel tax receipts from the Renewal Fund, $2,207,000. Township motor fuel, $1,911,000. So that's over $4 million in motor fuel tax there that has come to the county, besides just the regular motor fuel tax. So, any questions? The next report is the investment report. I really wish I could give you some good news. We have some CDs that are coming due, and they're not coming in as we would like to see them. And when they're coming in with rates at 0.05 or 0.03 or 0.07, what we're doing is we're just cashing out and liquidating. We'll put that money in the money market, and we will use it to balance cash flow with. So I'm not concerned about cash flow. Matter of fact, even during this entire pandemic, surprisingly, payments from the state of Illinois have been coming in on time. And it's really been a very, very pleasant surprise, because that was one thing we were concerned about was, how far behind is the state going to get now on top of everything else. And so I'm very, very pleased with that. And I also think that one of the things we talk about during the course of the audit is deferred revenue. It's revenue we have to defer because the state of Illinois is untimely with payments. We've got payments coming in right now that we were quite honestly expecting to have to defer that revenue. And it's very surprising. So I am very pleased with that. Just wanted to mention that to you. The overall investment portfolio, $66,334,000. Any questions? The next report is the Blue Cross Blue Shield report. And as you can see there, our 2021 numbers are coming in quite a bit below 2020. We have expenses for January and February of $910,703.97, and we have, but there's a reason I want to explain for that is that if you remember correctly, back when you were discussing the plan negotiations with Jeff Gilmore, the county did receive a credit. Mr. Gilmore had indicated the county would receive a one-time credit. We got that one-time credit during the month of January. So that's part of the reason why we're coming in lower. But the report looks pretty bare right now, but as you know, it's going to build, and there's going to be some interesting data over the next 12 months to take a look at and analyze. So any questions? And then the final report that I have for you is the nursing home. And the one thing I want to point out, first of all, this is again through the month of December. The nursing home did report their January information to me, but I still had some questions. And so since it was only 1 month of the fiscal year, I decided to focus on where we were here at the end of 2020, because we are still posting entries to 2020 at this time on the county level. That's the accrual work that we do in January and February and March before audit starts at the end of March. So, but I do want to point out the accumulated revenues and accumulated expenses. And at this point in time, I know as far as my office goes, we have everything posted that is of significant value. All of the interfund transfers that we're responsible for doing are in. I believe that the interfund transfers for the auditor, those are all in as well at this point in time. So I can't guarantee you that there's not going to be any more adjustments. It's possible that there will be. But the revenue for 2020, it's that third set of numbers down, 8,161,574. Their 2019 revenue was 7,069,236. So their revenue is up by about 1.1 million. The nursing home, and I mentioned this to you last month, that the nursing home benefited greatly from the cures revenue in the amount of about 778,000. But still, their revenue came in higher in 2020 as opposed to 2019. Then the expenses on this report, the end of December, 8,266,594. Back in 2019, our expenses for the nursing home ended at 8,619,315. So their expenses are also down by $300,000 to $400,000. So the revenue being 8,161,000, expenses being 8,266,000, you can see that we have a loss of $105,019. And the reason why I want to point that out to you is because 1 year ago, we were looking at a loss of $1,550,000. So 2020 was a good year for the nursing home. The only thing that concerns me on this is cash. The cash started out in 2020 at $1,056,000. We ended at $1,255,000. So we actually ended with a higher amount of cash in the bank. But I have some concerns about whether or not we're going to run out of cash here in 2021. I think 2021 is going to be a challenge. Hopefully we will receive some more cures funding to supplement the nursing home revenue. But obviously without that cures funding, we would have ended up with only a few $100,000 in cash in the bank at the end of the year. So fund balance ended at $3,733,000. Again, that's only down by $105,019. That's the difference between your expenses and your revenue. So I think a little bit of good news.
Very good.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much. We do need to vote on this, placing these on file. So Ms. Morlock, could you please do the roll call, please?
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. Motion passes. There were no other items to be presented, so we'll move on to for Departmental Matters 4C, and that's Kathy Michael, County Clerk. She doesn't have any actions for, or any items for action or for information, but she is on the line. And Ms. Michael, do you have anything that you want to share at this point?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Well, business as usual, another election underway, as you all know, and early voting is quite slow. We had 4 early voters today, and we've had a total of 43. So we had our highest number is 11, and that's usual when we're mandated to start 40 days before each election. So we expect it to pick up as more election news gets out.
Any questions for Ms. Michael? It doesn't look like we have any questions, so thank you for joining us. And we will move on to 4D, Marshall Thompson, Director of Animal Control. So D1, she has an item to be presented for action, and that is request approval of a memorandum of agreement for veterinary services from Dr. Eric Nord. May I have a motion, please? Have a motion from Member Friedrich, and can I have a second? It looks like a second by Member Erickson. And Marshall,
Hello, good evening.
good evening.
I have one action item for your consideration, a renewed agreement with Dr. Nord for his professional services unique to the needs of our community and the animals housed at our facility. He does a really good job for the animals and the community.
Does anyone have any questions? Member Woolrab does have a question, so please go ahead.
Hello, Ms. Thompson.
Hello.
Hi. I was wondering, do you have a ballpark figure for what this line item is? I didn't have a chance to look it up.
For which line item?
For the one that this particular.
Veterinary services?
Yes. It's ballpark if you happen to know
I
it.
believe it's about 30,000, but I would have to double check to make sure I've not misquoted it by memory.
Okay. Have we ever gone out for bid for this?
We have, and I believe Dr. Nord at that time was the only one that had accepted the bid. It's a very unique position that requires after-hours services, weekends, holidays, emergency. It requires a lot of understanding of pandemic situations, community assessments, and what we have to do for the animal control program. And it has a lot of unique characteristics to it for our program.
How long ago has it been since we put it out to bid?
It was 3 years.
3 years. I guess I would make a motion that we accept this, amend this to say that it's a 2-year agreement, and that in 2 years we go out again for bid. So I make that motion.
So you are amending, we want to amend member, I believe it was Friedrich made the motion. Is that correct? So we're amending the motion instead of, and that would be if we look on, in fact, on page 15, it would be 1. This agreement shall be effective January 1st through December 31st and will renew automatically for, and you want that to be 2 successive 1-year periods then, is that correct?
Yes. That would be my proposed change to the amendment.
All right, so do we have a second for that amended motion? It looks like Member Lehman has seconded that. So I can tell you, Member Woolrab, just a minute, Member Erickson, I'm looking at this month's charges, and it looks like there were $27,000 worth of charges to Nord Animal Hospital. I'm assuming those are all the kinds of charges that are outlined in this contract. So
Those are,
yes,
there's a difference between, I'm sorry, there's a delay in my phone. I apologize.
Go ahead, Marshall.
I was going to say that some of those services that are not in this mentioned contract, or the services that are reimbursed through the Memorandum Fund, and Dr. Nord is one of the veterinarians that they select for the services. So this is separate than what we're asking for today.
The reason I'm asking for this is just that it, with something of that size, it just seems like good practice for us to do that as a government entity.
In fact, thank you for that, Ms. Thompson. Because there are contractual services which are 0706, and that was $1,200, and non-contractual are 0773, and that's the 27,000. So this would be the $1,262 is what you're saying.
Correct.
Okay,
So
very good.
what this is for is like contractual services, rabies prevention, diagnostic work on stray animals that do not qualify for the reimbursement fund. This is like sending in specimens for rabies testing, doing necropsies for animals maybe that at the request of our contract holder. So this is a very specific service and details that we require of the program for public health and safety.
Okay, we do have to, if we have an amendment to a motion, we either have to vote on it, or if Member Friedrich agrees to that, we won't have to vote on the amendment. So, Member Friedrich, are you in agreement with that?
I see Member Erickson had a question, and I had another question.
Okay,
Before
Member
I
Erickson?
Is that correct?
Member Erickson?
Yeah, I
That
did
would
have
be
a
fine.
question. I want to make sure I get it in. I mean, my question is merely this. I don't know the answer. I mean, when he bid on this, I want to make sure he didn't bid on a 3-year contract. And this is why he was willing to agree to that price, but we're going to take it down to 2. I mean, that's not going to be an issue for us, is it? Michelle,
I don't believe so. He actually didn't ask for an increase at all this year. He just left it as it was for the last 3 years. He just wanted to keep everything as it was, understanding there's a lot going on with the community in the pandemic.
I mean, the reason I ask is sometimes if you make the bid for a longer term, you might be willing to take a lesser amount. So I don't know what he was willing to do, but do you think he'll be okay with that being a 2-year term?
I would believe so, but I would also like to point out that we do a lot of pre-work so that the amount of time that we have to request of him is limited. So with the training and myself and what we've done with preparing before we have to contact the veterinarian does greatly reduce the amount of time that we have to use for that portion of our contract services. So we only use his services when we absolutely have to. So, I mean, it is a great benefit to what relationship we've been able to itemize out with his services, because through training and, learning new skills, we can do a lot of it in-house, but there are certain things that we can't. I mean, we can't do surgeries. We can't do certain types of prescription diagnostic evaluations or certain types of diagnostic things that have to be sent out for testing. So we do need his expertise and professional skills for the unique situation that animal control presents for community safety.
Yeah, I'm not questioning the bid. I'm not even questioning what he does. I'm just questioning, I just don't want to create any prejudice to this individual who may have thought when he made his offer that he was getting a 3-year deal, and now we're changing it to 2. I just want to make sure that doesn't create any issue for him. That's my only question.
If I may interrupt.
Our state's attorney would like to speak.
Hi, I just wanted to point out a couple of things. So this contract is for 1 year with 3 successive terms, so it would be a 4-year situation. The other thing is that our code doesn't necessarily require a bidding process, because it could qualify as professional services, since Dr. Nord is a professional and his unique services could be hired directly instead of bidding out the normal process.
Well, I know that, Counselor, but my question still is, does it create any prejudice to him? That's what I want to know. I mean, it's not going to affect him any.
I would not believe so. I would have to reach out to him and ask. Do you have to do that for you?
I'm sorry, Marshall, what did you say?
I was just saying, I don't think it would be an issue. I would just have to reach out to him and contact him and ask. I'd be happy to do that on your behalf.
I mean, I think you ought to check with him. I mean, to me, I don't really care whether it's 2 or 3. I don't have any objection to the amendment. I just think someone I make sure that he understands that his bid was now for this as opposed to that. Okay.
So, Member Friedrich, you had a question or a comment?
Well, my answer hasn't been answered yet. I mean, someone's going to reach out to him to ask him.
I think she's saying that she's not sure if it will impact the outcome. She would have to discuss that with Dr. Nord, I believe. Is that not what you're saying, Ms. Thompson?
Correct. Is there a way of postponing the conversation for a few minutes so that I could hang up here and make a phone call? And like, can I be moved down to the bottom of the agenda?
So every time a contract is presented, we've negotiated the terms up to that point. So I'm not sure what the reasoning would have been for Dr. Nord to agree to all the terms. Maybe he decided that because it was this many years, he agreed to this amount of money. But before we present them to you, we do give an opportunity to negotiate those terms before making a recommendation. If the committee wants to table this to the end of the meeting or a time certain in 20 minutes or something like that, it's up to you.
I would suggest that if Ms. Thompson can get him on the phone, my concern is that if we extend it he's already we've been under contract with him for 3 years now. Is that correct? And then so this would add another 4 years. So it's a long period of time without then having gone out to bid. So that's what I'm trying to achieve here. So if you can get him on the phone now, we could hope, if the chair is amenable to that, we could move this down, or we could do it at a stand up, I suppose.
Just a moment. Member Friedrich.
Yeah. My concern is that we had one bid 3 years ago. If we lose or Mr. Nord gets frustrated and we have nobody interested in providing services for animal control, we're out of a vet. What problems does that do for animal control? I think it might be significant. You know, if we had 3 years ago had 8 bidders in it, obviously they're not interested in it. So that's my concern with WOLRAB. So I completely understand where you're coming from, and on paper that's correct, but it looks to me like there's not a lot of people interested in doing work for animal control because of all the circumstances. And I can only imagine what we're asking Mr. Nord. That's all I have.
All right. I think it would be, so with that comment, I'm assuming you do not want to accept her amendment. You don't want to change your amendment to accept hers. So we need to vote on Ms. Woolrab's amendment to change it from a 3-year to a 2-year successive automatic renewal. So we would have to vote, or we need to vote on her proposal. So Ms. Morlock, please do a roll call vote.
Yes, ma'am. So this is an amendment to change it to the 2 years coverage, correct?
Correct.
Thank you. Member Woolrab.
Yes.
Member Barnett.
Yes.
Member Friedrich.
No.
Member Lehman.
Yes.
Member Thompson.
No.
Member Erickson,
No.
Chairman Metzger.
No. So it does not pass. So now, Ms. Marchand, you won't need to make a phone call to him unless we don't pass the
Okay.
original motion. So we're going back to the original motion. Are there any more conversations? Ms. Thompson, you want to say something?
No, not really. I mean, everything's going really well, and our program is excelling and doing a great job, and we've got a lot of animals that will need our help in the future, and I want to continue the unique circumstances that we have here to continue to do a good job.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Can we now vote on the original motion to accept the contract as it was presented?
I'm sorry, I keep clicking my mic button and turning it on and off. I apologize. Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. Motion passes. We'll go on to our next item, and that would be monthly reports. So
Is there any way I could enter?
absolutely, the floor is yours
I'm so
now.
sorry.
The floor is
So
yours.
sorry, I had one more really positive thing to tell the board that I wanted to, well, actually to make sure that you knew adoptions and transfers and medical treatment of all the animals housed at our facility is going really well, and a lot of credit to our veterinarian and the volunteers and the animal control staff on taking good care of everyone. But what I also wanted to highlight was that this last Friday, I was invited to attend a session of Rough Talk with internationally renowned Victoria Stillwell, who is a dog trainer, and Heather Paul with State Farm, and Michelle with Hero Therapy Dog Aladdin, and Larissa Wool from the Hallmark Channel. And we did an hour Rough Talk that you can find on Victoria Stillwell's Facebook page, and they were very complimentary of the animal control program and the progress that we've been making, and all the wonderful changes implemented to our program. So just wanted to let you know that it was an honor to be a part of that program, and it was the highlight of my Friday. I just wanted to share with the board to let you know that's out there, and give you credit as well for allowing us to continue to make our program better. So thank you.
Well, congratulations. Is that on your Facebook? I think we need to, definitely. We want to give you a thumbs up and a round of applause, but is that on your Facebook so we can see that? Or
I put her link on the Facebook because you access the video from her renowned Facebook page, and I think I saw that it already had several thousand views and continuing to grow, and they were so complimentary, and it was just emotional, and it felt so good to be a part of something great. And I'm just happy to see how we're going to make things better in the future, and we're going to continue to talk with Heather Paul with State Farm about doing some ongoing educational little promotion videos and trying to put out more information about what animal control does and how we help the community, and why we're essential and important so that we can all benefit from the animal control program. So I thank you, and please watch and enjoy, and have as much fun as I did. We all deserve it.
excellent, thank you. Would you please share those details of the websites and that information with Ms. Morlack so it can go in our meeting minutes, please?
I would be happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions before we move on? It looks like Member Friedrich has a question or wants to say something.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. I just wanted to come back to Ms. Woolrab. It's not an easy job what those people do. I'm a farmer, and a lot of people might think, oh, you're just dealing with cats and dogs and it's pretty easy, but that's not the case. You know what we ask of Mr. Nord? If you've ever run across a sick coon or something like that in the city, or a deer, or all these other things, it's just not animals at the control center. It's not easy, and I just wanted to follow up with that.
Mr. Friedrich, I don't doubt at all what you say, and I'm sure Mr. Nord is very dedicated and obviously a very good veterinarian. I'm not questioning his skills or any of that. I just thinking from a fiduciary standpoint, as a finance committee, it's a good idea to make sure that these things are let out. And I also think that, if we continue, if we have an evergreen renewal contract with, it doesn't matter who it's with, that we stand the chance of, we're not really giving other people in the community a chance. Maybe no one wants the chance, but we're not giving anyone else a chance to bid on this because it's just a deal that's done in administration, and there's no way for anybody else to get in on that deal, which may be a great deal, maybe a terrible deal for them. I don't know, but no one else has an opportunity. So that's part of the basis of why I was asking for that.
I think our administrator would like to make a comment or have discussion.
I would, Chairman Metzger. I appreciate the concern about evergreen contracts. I am going to be going back to the policy that is utilized in these instances, because what we cannot do is have not arbitrary decisions about which contracts get bid out and which don't, but Ms. Vasquez reminded us that this is a professional service. And there are times when county administration supports department heads to not go out for bid for professional services because that's what our policy says. So I also would like my staff and I to sit down and examine that policy. And if in fact it is unclear or it isn't standardized enough, then we need to go back and change code. Because remember that your procurement policies that you would hold me and my staff to are in code. And so I just wanted to point that out because I need to be able to guide department heads to a line of sight to a common goal. And they need to know that there is consistency throughout. And so we will go back and try to look at the language inside Chapter 116 of the McLean County Code and ensure that that is congruent with what your wishes are. And if not, we will bring some amendments therein.
Ms. Rodriguez, I appreciate your comment there. Is it not the case that our auditor services, are those professional services?
I thought about that, Member Woolrab, when I was coming up to the podium. And I'm certain that those are considered professional, but there's also accounting standards that require us to bid out those services. So there are caveats. And one should not keep the same external auditor. I'll make that clear to the public. We are talking about our external auditors. There are government accounting standards that drive that particular action. So it's a very good example that there are caveats in professional services. But just a few months ago to the property committee, I brought an architect to the table, a contract for that professional service, and I did not bid out. So I think that I appreciate the conversation. I know that this is not our money. So administration doesn't make arbitrary decisions, and yet we also want to be sure that we are following code. And when and if the professional services portion of Chapter 116 does not require us to go out, and this board is wishing us to go out at a regular interval, then we need to change Chapter 116 so that we're all clear.
I think it is the wish to at least look at that if we can. I think that's a wise, Ms. Woolrab makes a good point that we do have fiduciary responsibilities, so we want to make sure that we are utilizing the taxpayer money as well as we can. So,
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Anything else related to 4D, animal control? Good discussion, thank you. We'll move on to 4E. You might as well stay there, Ms. Rodriguez,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
that's County Administrator, and we have 2 items to be presented. E1A is request approval for a resolution amending the fiscal year 2021 full-time equivalent position resolution for the Health Department, and that's found on page 23 and 24. So you would, I'd like a motion to bring that to the floor. And that looks like Member Barnett made the motion, and Vice Chair Friedrich is second. Or excuse me, Vice Chair Thompson is a second. And Ms. Rodriguez, would you like to impart information to us?
Thank you, Chairman Metzger. Membership, on page 23 of your packet, you will find a memo from Ms. Jessica McKnight, the Health Department Administrator, to Chairman Metzger and to you and I. This is a resolution which is amending the FTE position resolution for the Health Department because of a staffing change that was made therein, and the staffing change required us to do this fiscal change to the position list. So that's what it is, and I'd be happy to answer questions.
Member Woolrab?
We've got a lot of questions tonight, I guess. Did this go in front of the Board of Health for approval?
They were made aware of it.
They were made aware of it, yes. They do not approve FTE resolutions, but they were made aware at their last meeting.
Is it not it's not a position change, or I'm not clear then why would they not vote on it? They're in control of their staffing. Why do they not vote on something like this?
In this particular instance, a contractual contact tracing supervisor was made a full-time employee, and those actions were all made aware to the Board of Health. And in fact, I can't confirm because I do not attend their meetings. I simply effectuate what is the responsibility of this office to adjust when there is needed to be an adjustment to the FTE list. So all I can say to you is it is my understanding that the Board of Health is aware. And in fact, also at the Health Committee this week, this was an information item, and so your Board of Health representative, who is the chair of the Health Committee, also had this as awareness, as well as the entire Health Committee.
I did speak, may I interject a little bit, Member Woolrab? I spoke with the Health Chair, Susan Schaefer, and she was at the Board of Health meeting, and it was discussed at that meeting, and they were well aware of this change.
Well, it's not for me to tell the Board of Health how to operate, but it would seem to me that being aware of FTE change and voting to approve it are 2 completely separate things. And this is the second time we've had something similar to this in the recent months, and I remain concerned that the Board of Health is not exercising its duty under state law to approve its own staffing, and that somehow it's been circumvented, and now we're approving something that they haven't approved, and it's just something is not right here.
Chairman Schaefer said that when they put it on the agenda, they failed to make a note that it needed to have a discussion and a vote. Therefore, they could not vote on it. So that's why.
How can we vote on it? This is the second time this has happened in just a couple of months. So I guess I'm in a point where I feel like I can't approve something that a Board of Health won't approve, or can't approve, or doesn't approve.
I think it was an inadvertent error on their part, and if this committee wants to send it back and make sure that there is an approval at the Board of Health meeting, we have that option, I would anticipate. So you had an additional comment. I think she said she had two things to discuss, so I'll get to you, Member Barnett, and also to Member Friedrich in just a second. So what, you had another question, Member Woolrab? No? All right, Member Barnett.
I guess I'm curious. I mean, procedurally, if the Finance Committee approves this and then the Board of Health, for whatever reason, doesn't approve this, do we need to then unapprove it next month? Or I mean, I don't know what the likelihood of that happening is. I guess I'm curious how all that works.
I would guess that since they wanted it on their agenda and they didn't get to vote on it, we have the option not to approve something and then ask them to approve it, which would delay it. Not that's not the issue. The issue is making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, I think. And so they wouldn't, I don't know if there was the intention for them after the fact to approve it. I don't know that, Member Barnett, so. So we have a motion, and we can vote it down if we want to send it back to them. How will that, not that it matters, but how will that impact this position? Does it? I mean, the person's still going to get paid. They're still going to be able to get their hours. Is that accurate?
There would likely just be a deficit in the line, in one of the line items where we're not budgeting for this particular individual. So
we would have an emergency appropriation the following month.
We would have to clean up any of that. And I absolutely, if I may, I probably shouldn't go on. So to answer your question, I think we would be able to correct any of the consequences of waiting.
Except for fringe benefits, he would be delayed in getting any insurance or fringe benefits.
And could you please share that with us?
Ms. Taylor?
I'm sorry for interrupting. I just wanted to point out that if a contractual person is delayed in becoming a full-time employee, then they would also be delayed in getting any of the fringe benefits that are associated with this employment, including any health insurance that they were expecting.
Member Barnett?
This isn't necessarily to do with this particular case, although it certainly does reflect this case. But I don't know about the rest of the committee, but I guess I do feel in general the process of when positions are altered, when they come to finance, and when they land on the desks of other committees before they come to finance and all of that, it feels very clunky to me. And maybe there's some consistency and maybe there's not, but it may be, and this is not to put blame on administration or anyone at all. I just wonder, and this circumstance sort of reinforces what I'm thinking as I'm sitting here. Maybe it's time in some way that administration or the rules committee or whoever that may be appropriate sort of reviews the process of how we go about approving these various changes in positions. Maybe it's time to update the workflow on some of those. Thank you. That was all.
Anyone else have member Erickson?
Yeah, I just had a question about the process. I just wanted to make sure. So, and I might be wrong about this, so I'm not sure I get all this, but it was before the Board of Health, right? And they just chose not to vote on it or neglected to vote on it or typically doesn't vote on it, or they typically look at it and say yes. I mean, what do they do with this stuff typically? I mean, does anybody know? I mean,
I cannot tell you what they typically do. I can just tell you what Member Schaefer or Health Chair Schaefer told me, that it was an error not to have it on the agenda as a voting item. They are aware of it. They discussed it. They were in favor of it, but they did not vote on it because they could not. It was not on their agenda to vote on it. It was just a discussion item. I think, go ahead.
So, okay, so they were aware of it, right?
Definitely.
And they haven't followed it through over to us to raise an objection about it. Is that correct? I mean, they haven't called us up and say, hey, hold off on that till we get it back or anything like that, have they?
No, in fact, just to the contrary.
Okay. All right. That's what I need to know. All right. Thank you.
I mean, I think, Member Woolrab, I think your point is well taken. I believe that the Board of Health, as you've identified, this is the second time we've had this happen, and it is a very uncomfortable situation for us. This one, I am a little more comfortable because it was an error, and Member Schaefer specifically identified that they were well aware and had a long discussion and were in agreement for this to move forward, but they did not vote on it, which I think in most cases they probably should. But again, I'm not sure that I'm not sure the entire process, that if it gets presented to us, I think we can vote on it. So that's where we're at.
I'm sure we can vote on it, but I guess my feeling is, and everybody's going to vote how they want to vote. And I just feel like I'm going to say that if we continue to approve these things like in this way, without them putting it on their agenda properly and voting on it up or down properly, then it's just going to continue. So I'm going to vote on this. And it may just be a statement here, but I just feel that it's not proper for us to do things that haven't truly been approved in an action item by the Board of Health.
Member Vice Chair Thompson, you had a question or a comment?
Just a comment. I was just going to give my opinion. Based on what I've heard, I think I would be in favor of moving forward on this, but I would agree, don't do this again. This twice is enough. And let's make sure things are in order and in the future, so we don't have to have these uncomfortable discussions.
Very good, thank you. Member Erickson?
Yeah, I agree with Member Thompson. I mean, that was my thought. That's why I asked my question. They knew about it. They didn't do it procedurally correctly, but they didn't follow it over here and say, stop it so we can have it back. I mean, but you can't dispute that Member Woolrab's issue here is a legitimate issue. I don't dispute that it's not. It's just, I felt like the health department does know about it and they did let it go through and they kind of want us to move on it. And I appreciate Member Woolrab's concerns about that, and I appreciate that she brought them out. Thank you.
Member Lehman?
My concern in a delay is delaying any kind of benefits to someone who might be in a position to be looking forward to and or needing said benefits. I guess my larger question is, we've said we might need to look at this process going forward. So prior to having a vote, is there any kind of agreed upon process in what we will do to make sure that this doesn't happen again in the future? Is there anything that we're all in a kind of a, okay, we know what the next step will be to clear up situations like this prior to casting a vote, or is that an inappropriate ask?
I don't know if anyone else has anything to say. I think you make a good point. Member Woolrab has certainly made a point. I think we all are uncomfortable with this. But the process, if it's come here, we can act on it. And as Member Erickson said, the Health Committee, we met on Monday and there was absolutely no objections, and Ms. McKnight wanted this to move forward. Again, Ms. Woolrab indicated correctly that the Board of Health should be involved in these. By error, they were not. So I think moving ahead, if we can have our administrator have a discussion with the Ms. McKnight, and I will certainly talk to the health chair and tell them in the future this committee is very uncomfortable at proceeding with this kind of action if we don't have a vote from the Board of Health. I'm not sure the other action that Member Barnett wanted just to look at what this process is to see if it can be streamlined in some way to make it more efficient and maybe more effective. And I think that has its merit also. So there are a couple of things that now you have on your plate as an administrator to do. So we have Member Friedrich. You had a comment or a question?
Yeah, I sense everybody's frustration. I'm hearing what the health department said, missing it. So my vote is going to be this. I will abstain, and it will be out of frustration. So that's how I'm going to handle it. Thank you.
Okay. I think we are ready to vote. Ms. Morlock, please.
Member Woolrab,
No.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich. Just wanna make sure.
Abstain.
Thank you. Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. Motion passes. We'll move on to E1B, and that's request approval of a resolution amending fiscal year 2021 full-time equivalent position resolution in the circuit clerk's office, and that is found on page 25 and 26. This was presented to the Justice Committee, I believe last night, if I recall. So can we get a motion to put this on the floor? Looks like Vice Chair Thompson made the motion, and can I have a second? And Member Barnett as a second. And if you want to proceed, Ms. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Chairman Metzger. As Chairman Metzger noted, this was presented by Circuit Clerk Everhart last night to the Justice Committee, and his memo to Chair Metzger and to you membership summarizes the need for this action. If you have any questions, I can answer.
Does anyone have any questions relating to this increased workload created by minor cannabis offense expungements? Expungements, thank you.
Expungements, yes. Which are required. It's not a choice, it's a requirement.
It's a requirement.
Yes.
So no questions? All right, let's have a vote on that. Ms. Morlock, please.
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. Motion passes. We'll now move to E2A, and that's report of recent employment activities. Ms. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Chairman Metzger. We just simply, as usual, present this report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? Any comments? All right, we have bills to pay. And it appears I have a note from the auditor saying that the bills were reviewed and certified. They comply to all the McLean County Board adopted ordinances, resolutions, and policies, and that she recommends that they be approved. We have a total of $558,308.20. May I have a motion to approve the bill payments or the approval of the bills? I have Member Woolrab made the motion, and I saw a second from Member Lehman, I believe. All right, any questions? All right, very good. Ms. Morlock, could we please have a roll call vote?
Member Woolrab,
Yes.
Member Barnett,
Yes.
Member Friedrich,
Yes.
Member Lehman,
Yes.
Member Thompson,
Yes.
Member Erickson,
Yes.
Chairman Metzger.
Yes. Motion passes. Then we have number 5, which is business and communication. I don't believe we have any additional things to discuss or have any communication moving forward. So we move to 7, which is adjournment. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your very good discussion and the direction that we went. And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.